Numerous clients, including the Truth Campaign, which, do you guys know the Truth Campaign? To get people to quit smoking. I was on the first grants. It wasn't quite the Truth Campaign at that time. They just had the lawsuit, and I was a part of that, and I was a part of their digital media. How do you start getting people to quit smoking? And using online sources, even though we know that things like, there are lots of different indicators, like if your mom smokes, you are more likely to smoke. So I did that, and then Poo-Pourri. Do you guys know Poo-Pourri? Poo-Pourri is a before-you-go toilet. So you spray it in your toilet, and then you go, and then the smell gets trapped. And it's an online-only campaign. And they make a lot of money, and my classes actually ended up working for them. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to learn new things that I like to say, quote unquote, fresh, because gosh, the world is always changing, and how much fun is that? And I have the perfect job for that. So what is social media? You guys are back in class. What is social media? Technology used to communicate. What else is it? What is it different? How is it different than the telephone? Because the telephone is technology that is used to communicate. It does. It's a mass media sometimes, and sometimes it's a one-on-one, right? Because we can private message people, but we could also give our message to everybody else. So can you give me some examples of social media? Facebook, that's our favorite, right? Facebook, what else? Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat. I should have brought my clicker. So Google Plus, do you guys know what this one is? This is LinkedIn. RSS feeds. So Facebook, Twitter, RSS feeds, Google Plus. The V is Vimeo, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Yep. Yeah, YouTube. So YouTube is others. What other kinds of things are others? Tumblr, Slack. You guys are missing some of the largest retailers. Largest retailers have apps, huh? Amazon. Amazon is #1 in retail apps, of course, right? #1 on retail apps. Do you guys know what #2 is? I bet you can guess. No, as a retailer. So, like Amazon. You guys didn't know you were going to have to think, did you? You poor things. You thought I was just going to lecture. Good morning, come on in. It is, it's Etsy. And the third one, Etsy, E-T-S-Y. It's a website where cottage industry people can put up their wares. So it's a lot of jewelry, it's a lot of clothing. It's small businesses. It's an outlet for very, very, very small businesses. eBay is getting complicated, right? eBay is complicated, even though it's our oldest one. And what was interesting, we're going to talk a little bit about eBay, but what was interesting about eBay? What's interesting about eBay? Do you guys know? Well, why would you know? I just asked you a question of what was in my head, and I'm expecting you all to guess what was in my head. So Amazon is the number one area of number one app to do online shopping. Number 2 is Etsy, and there are a bunch of others. So apps were created. Steve Jobs created apps so that we weren't so dependent on Microsoft technology. So it goes all the way back to how much Steve Jobs didn't like Microsoft. So does everybody know what these things are? Does everybody know what QR codes are? I bet you do.
I was just before, apparently, a few years behind.
So what do we have as first? QR codes. QR codes are first. Then eBay. And QR codes, we use them mostly not for social media per se, but we use them to catalog things. And we use, like, our FedEx and our USPS and our UPS, I'll use them because they have, yep, and you guys used them on your sign-in sheet there. But the amazing part about QR codes, it holds twice as much data as barcodes do. And so it can actually be a very complex set of instructions that I don't know that advertising uses very well. As a matter of fact, I would say that we don't use it very well at all. But FedEx uses it, and UPS uses it, and USPS uses it extremely well to get packages from one place to another, to get, we have those QR codes on our grocery shelves so people can scan them in, and we can do those types of things with it. So eBay is our next. And the thing that was interesting in my world about eBay, it was the first time we were allowed to have a garage sale online, right? And that's how, for those of you who are old enough to remember those advertisements, that's actually kind of how they sold it. And it's amazing because this means that they didn't have to have any in-house stock. So they just got a commission to have technology. And so that made it pretty interesting. The next to come along was Facebook. What was interesting? Can you guys give me what was different about Facebook, or what was Facebook the first time we could do?
Facebook, when it started, was only for college.
It was only for college students. What was it for?
Rating other people.
It was for rating other people, and it was for, did you say it? You might have said it. To know where the party was. So that we could meet up, so that we could go hang out and have the party, or that cute girl or cute guy that we really were interested in. Can we find them? Right? And it was really cool because it was the first time that we could do that. And then it was the first time that we could put pictures up about our lives that mattered to our small, close friends, and then our close friends became bigger and bigger and bigger. So what was interesting about Twitter, which happened in 2006. So it's 10 years old. But what happened with Twitter? We have a character limit, but what is interesting? What is new and different about Twitter that we don't have with Facebook? We could follow celebrities. We have hashtags. So the thing that is most interesting, the way Twitter changed the world, was it was the first time that we could report live news at the time. And China was the one, they had an earthquake, and seismologists, right? Those are the people who do the earthquake stuff. Seismologists have known for a long time that China has had a lot of earthquakes that have gone unreported because Beijing didn't want people to know about these things because Beijing, you know, everything is good, everything is fine. Well, when the schools collapsed and we have a one-child policy, Twitter was the one, can you find my child? Help me find my child. And so it was the first time that we realized that Twitter isn't necessarily about, hey, come meet me at the new party, Facebook Lite. It is, hey, we can actually get news from around the world. And Beijing had to start changing their policies, and we as journalists started saying, oh, wait, we can use this for news. It's live, it's real, we can use this for news. So that's how Twitter. Now, the other interesting thing, because you mentioned hashtags, what happened with hashtags was that was kind of a mistake. So we're having all of these things come up, and people actually, it wasn't Twitter that developed the hashtag, it was communal, the community helped develop the hashtag so that we could find other things that matched our, so that we could sort and we could find other things that matched our interests. So we didn't have to sort through everything, we could just look for the hashtags. And that makes Twitter interesting also. And then Hulu. How did Hulu change the world? Do you guys know Hulu? Everybody knows Hulu? No? It's online streaming of television shows and movies is what it is. So it's a lot like Facebook. It's not a lot like Facebook. It's a lot like Netflix. But Netflix came later. So Hulu was the first time that we didn't have to turn on our TV to watch TV. We can watch TV from our computer. We can watch TV from our devices, which we no longer differentiate. So when we say that we want to watch TV, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to turn on the television and watch TV. It means that we're going to consume television content, and we do it on our telephones, we do it on our computers, we do it on our iPads or our tablets. And that's becoming, it's changing how the television industry is thinking about how to develop their content. So each one of these things has changed how we view our world and has changed how we can have content delivered to us. So social media is really the ability to share content or to participate in social networking. And that's basically all it is. It's this big thing, it's how to reach your customers, but really, this is it. That's it. The ability to create and share content to participate. So what does this mean for me? And in terms of advertising, this could be another touch point for our customers. So we don't only need flyers and maybe advertisements on the television and our radio, even though our radio isn't necessarily radio, but it's maybe online streaming, it might be Pandora, it might be Spotify. But it's another touch point. But this only works if you concentrate on building relationships. So building relationships doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have return on investment today. It means that you're going to be able to build up and have return on investment tomorrow. So PostPlanner earlier this year looked at people who used technology heavily. And ironically, they said that in addition to technology, which topics do you regularly seek information or read about on print or online? And so we had news. So news is still pretty much the #1 reason why people go to different types of social media and follow things on social media. But news can mean different things, right? So we have news like the weather, which I would consider under news. They split weather out. And news can be what happens at the library. News can be what happens for our sports teams. But news can also mean what happened last night at our party. You're totally not the party guy. Lucky you. Those are some of the things. 59% of travel, 50% of career, 47% said that they do gaming. And that's going to be larger as we look at Gen Zs, which are the generation after our millennials. Our millennials are now, the end of millennials are now 21 and 20. The top of our Gen Zs are 19 and 18. So they're in college. And they are different than our millennials are. They put away their phones. They still don't talk to other people like I talk to other people, but it could be because I got sent to the principal's office a lot for talking to other people. They still prefer, they don't prefer to pick up the phone and call somebody. They prefer to text or to send emails first, although I am moving more and more to that direction. But they're different. And one of the ways that they're different is that they game more. And that's true for women also. Even though it's still largely a man thing, it's true for women also. We're seeing it. All right, so there we go. So top factors driving people to our websites. We know that if we can get people to our website, and if we can get them to stay at our website for a long period of time, they will have greater liking for our brand. So whether our brand is the police officer, the police station, or a library, governmental organization, or it's our local restaurants, or it's our local clothing place or our printing place, we know that the more time that people spend on our website, the more likely they are to become brand loyal with us and buy things from us, even if we don't sell things online. Because that's another touch point, that's another thing that we call a touch point, where we can have that interaction for people or for our consumers. So again, here are some top characteristics when you're looking for tech-related content online, but this is pretty standard. It was kind of a nice graphic. It's pretty standard for most all websites. We expect our websites to be reliable and accurate content. So that means that if you change hours, or if you have different hours for different seasons, it should be up there. Because people will get a little bit upset if they say, well, they said that they were open at 8 o'clock. Oh, it's winter. They don't open until 9:30. Well, how come I didn't know until I got here? That becomes a problem. So we want reliable and accurate content. We want straightforward, unbiased content. So, if it's going to be an opinion, label it as an opinion, but we would rather have it be pros and cons and easy to understand so that we can skim it. So graphics and images help with that. Community user reviews, short, concise content. And have you guys seen the car commercial, I don't remember what brand it is, but it talks about 8 seconds. It's a car that parks itself, or the car that has automatic braking. It's not the one that parks itself, it's the one that has automatic braking. Yes, no? It talks about 8 seconds is all we have as an attention span. Yeah. The girl's singing, and then all of a sudden she's up on stage and she is in a full head-on in this daydream, and then the next thing she knows, the car is stopping her. That 8 seconds is how long we have with our millennials. That's it. 8 seconds before people get bored. It's shorter with our Gen Zs. So we need to start thinking about our content in smaller chunks. So I will read a 4-page article if it's good, if it has a strong voice and it's something that I'm mildly interested in. I will read the 4-page article. Heck, I read Harry Potter books in 2 nights. I like to read. That's not true for my millennials, and my upper millennials will read more than what my lower millennials will, and my Gen Zs skim. So it's something to think about when you're doing your social media. It's something to think about when you are redesigning your websites. It's something to think about when you're trying to advertise to get people in. So who are your best customers? You all know who your best customers are. You all know who uses the library the most, who walks through your doors the most. Those are the people that you want to mimic when you're putting together a social media campaign or an advertising campaign. So where do they live? Are they local? Are they local? So for the library, I would expect that most people are local. Are they international? Are they only in small towns? Are they in small towns or suburbs of a larger town? Where do they live? Where do they live online? What do they use the most? So my millennials use Twitter the most. Gen Xers, which is what I am, we use Facebook the most. Gen Zs are on Facebook, but they use Facebook differently than Gen Xers do. They get on like once a day, but that still counts. So you'll see high numbers of Facebook for Gen Z people. But they like to use Snapchat, and they like to use Instagram. So we're moving from an age where words are important to the idea of a picture says 1,000 words is even more important because we no longer read. We only read in small sentences. So our pictures and our graphics really have to explain what context and what the content is, especially for the lower ones. But don't worry about them if they're not your customers. Figure out who your best customers are and what they use, and then concentrate on that. And concentrate on the things that you're most comfortable using. Because if you're most comfortable using it, you are more likely to use that social media. So what content do they consume? So that's where your analytics come into play. What are they clicking on? What are they spending the most time on? And Facebook has those analytics, Google has those analytics, and you can have them for your entire websites. How do they consume that media? What device? At what time? We know that my college students wake up, grab the phone, look at their Twitter feed. We know that Gen Xers wake up, grab their phone, check their email. Still the same device, very different stuff. Gen Xers get up and work the first thing in the morning. Not that millennials don't work, because their ideas, they're becoming informed. They really need to know what is new and different and what happened last night while they were sleeping for the 2 hours. Is that just college students? Maybe that's just college students. So what device at what time? Are they on tablets? Are they on desktops? And for those of us who are older, these are now considered desktops. So the desktop, actually, like the Mini Macs that I have at home, is lumped into your laptops also. Know their likes and dislikes. And is there something else that everybody has in common? You need to start with your audience that you already know likes your product, and then you go from there. That's going to be 80% of the people who use your service or buy your things. So then what you want to do is you want to take a media inventory. What's working best for you? If press releases and things in the newspaper are working best for you, there's no reason to throw that away. it's still the best way to get local news out is through the newspaper. My mom reads the newspaper, so then she has to read me the newspaper. Now, my mom lives in Michigan. I live in Muncie. But she has to read me the newspaper. I think that might happen when you get older, which, you know, I don't know what my kids are going to do. Better read them the Twitter feed. But keep that. Whatever is working for you, keep what's working for you. Don't throw that away. Keep that as your solid thing. And if you want to expand, then add to it. But keep whatever is working for you, keep that. So to recap, what we've done is we've talked about what social media is. We know who our best customers are, and that's what I typically call our target audiences. We know where our best customers live, physically and online. And we know what's best working for you. And no outside agency is ever going to be able to tell you what is best working for you, unless they're the ones that have the analytics, and then they can help you. But you already have a sense of what is best that works for you. So when you have this, you start with this. When you have this, then you want to go to your specific needs. And so here is the differences of where your target audience is, or your consumers. And this was taken about a year and a half ago. This was done about a year and a half ago. And this is what I'm talking about with our Snapchats. 45% of everybody who uses Snapchat are 18 to 24. Yeah. I think this is from ComScore. So they actually had a whole article on this. It's from ComScore. And ComScore is a online, well, they look at online demographics. Who's using what and what kind of situation. So they're a research firm. So the research firms, maybe I should tell you guys that. The research firms that I typically scour, for lack of a better term, one is ComScore. They have a lot of information there. Nielsen, and Nielsen ratings are the top ratings for television, but they have expanded to radio and online, and mainly that's because television has expanded to online. Television is so different now than what it was 5 years ago. But they bought, Nielsen bought Arbitron, so they also have radio data there too. And then of course we have the Pew Research Center. And Pew does a wonderful job, and I think that is an underutilized, not-for-profit organization. And actually, if you email them, they're more than likely to email you back. It's kind of cool. So Facebook is still used pretty evenly across all demographics. Google Plus is Google's answer to Facebook. One of the reasons why Google Plus is increasing is because of Google Documents. Do you guys use Google Documents in your offices? Some of you guys do. One of the reasons why some offices don't want to use Google for their documents is that if you read the very fine print, if they like something that you're doing in your offices, then they actually own the content. So that might be something that you might want to think about. But my students do all of their papers. They say, well, heck, it's just a paper. Nobody's going to want to know what I learned until somebody wants to employ you. LinkedIn, we use that, not lying. LinkedIn, we use that to get jobs. We use that to do blogs about what we know. Twitter use is still high amongst our younger audiences. And then Tumblr, which is a blog site, Vine, which is a short video, and then Snapchat. Fun fact, Vine stars and YouTube stars make more money than celebrities on the little screen and big screens, to the point where TV and movies aren't able to get that celebrity, can't pay them enough to move that celebrity from